You may think that the only difference between the rich and the poor is the size of their bank accounts, but in reality there is something much more important that separates these two groups. You see, if you want to become rich, you need to not only have certain skills, but the mindset to put them into action. Therefore, in this video I will share with you 7 ways the rich think differently about money. And if you're new to the channel, then hit the subscribe button below for more life-changing content. Mindset number 1. Time is more valuable than money. Time is easily our most valuable resource for 2 primary reasons. First, there are only so many hours in the day, which makes it a scarce resource. And secondly, time is the only resource that can be transformed into anything you desire. For instance, your time can be used to make money, to travel, or to spend time with friends. No other resource offers as much flexibility as time does, and wealthy people know that they can always earn more money, but there's only so much time each of us has on Earth. With that in mind, they look for ways to maximize their own personal time by leveraging technology and the time of others. Consider this thought experiment. What dollar figure would you put on being able to save a full day's worth of processing paperwork and shorten your work week to just 4 days? $100? $500? Come up with an actual dollar figure. Now, imagine you earn $50 an hour and can hire someone to take on a full 8 hours worth of work for $100. Would you do it? By paying that $100, you could spend a full day with your family or go see that movie you've been meaning to watch. In economic terms, this trade-off is known as opportunity cost, which is the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. So when you choose to work, the cost is the dollar value placed on enjoying leisurely activities. As an employee, you may be thinking to yourself, there's no way I could ever do this at my job. But in reality, there are tons of individuals already leveraging other people's time in order to shorten their work weeks. A 2018 study reported by CNBC found that 70% of professionals worldwide now work from home at least 1 day per week. You owe 40 productive hours a week to your employer. Why not work 32 and outsource the other 8? Second, this is why people start businesses, to take more control of their time and work. Wealthy people ask how they can delegate work to leverage other people's time. In return, they have more control over their time, which they can then spend as they wish. It's part of the reason wealthy people look for ways to build passive income so they can bring in money without having to work for it. Mindset number 2. Health is the foundation of wealth. One of my personal mantras is that if you don't have your health, then you have nothing, and unlike time, you can't buy better health. While there are exceptions to every rule, statistics show that wealthy individuals tend to live longer. A 2017 study published in The Lancet found that the wealthiest Americans live up to 15 years longer than the poorest Americans. So while the rich can leverage other people's time in order to increase their own, they compound this effect by making healthy choices that will extend their lives and ultimately increase their chances of building greater fortunes. The links between health and wealth start with a healthier lifestyle. A 2017 Gallup survey found that people who self-report as having enough money to do everything they want to do also have healthier eating habits. Data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, analyzed by the Washington Post, showed that the greatest predictor of physical exercise on the state level was money. And this makes total sense. There's no disputing that healthier food costs more money, and doubling the cost of your grocery bill in order to eat healthy isn't something everyone can afford to do. Moreover, the sad reality is that many people have to work so many hours to get by that they either have no time or not enough energy to maintain a consistent gym routine. Fortunately, you don't need to be rich to live a healthier lifestyle. Start with free home workouts and try and eat as healthy as possible on the budget you have. And while you're at it, reevaluate your health insurance to make sure it will protect you in case of a true health crisis. Mindset number 3. Wealth and happiness can coexist. On average, wealthier people are happier, and this is probably no surprise to you, because if you've ever been under financial stress, you will know just how taxing it can be on your mental health. The rich, however, manage these emotions by ensuring that they have adequate funds to weather any financial obstacle, and this diligence certainly pays dividends. A study published by the National Academy of Sciences demonstrated a strong correlation between income and life satisfaction, as well as income and emotional well-being, up to around $75,000 in annual income. After that, it leveled off. Yet several 2018 studies by the National Institutes of Health found that even among millionaires, more wealth did lead to more happiness. Interestingly, they found that the source of wealth also mattered. Self-made millionaires were happier than inheritance beneficiaries or lottery winners. Now, I'm sure you've heard someone say, well, I'd rather be happy than rich. But why can't you be both? Well, wealth can't buy happiness per se. It can buy you more time with your family and friends, which presumably would make you happier. You can use wealth to switch to a single income household, or to help you and your partner retire young and raise children full time. For that matter, you can use it to reclaim more of your time to do anything you want, and that type of freedom is definitely something to be happy about. Mindset number 4, risk-taking is required for success. One stark difference between the rich and the poor is how they manage financial risk. Just about every way to make money requires assuming some sort of risk. For instance, if you quit your old job to get a new, higher paying role, you risk the new role being less satisfying or more prone to you being laid off. If you invest in government bonds, you risk the government defaulting, resulting in you losing some or all of your investments. These examples and many more are the reason why there's a saying, no risk, no reward. And time and again we see the clear line between the risk tolerance of the rich and the poor. In most cases, we see poor people reduce or completely eliminate their financial risk, which also hinders their ability to grow their wealth. Statistics show that half of Americans own no stocks whatsoever. That includes pensions, 401k, and IRA accounts, and college 529 plans. In fact, 84% of all US stocks are owned by the wealthiest 10% of Americans. Some pundits claim that it's because the average American can't afford to invest in stocks, but that argument falls apart in the face of the facts. It's free and simple to open a brokerage account, and you can even invest in an index fund with as little as $50. The truth is that the average American feels uncomfortable with the risks posed by stocks. Don't take my word for it. The NBER study showcases an enormous divergence of median wealth in the aftermath of the Great Recession as the middle classes fled stock market ownership. The subsequent stock market recovery overwhelmingly favored the wealthy because they didn't panic and sell off their stocks like so many less wealthy people did. Sadly, that shift away from stock ownership by the middle class has had a lasting impact, increasing wealth inequality in the United States. There's no doubt that investing involves risk, but when done correctly, these risks can be calculated risks. Whether it's investing in the stock market or starting a business, the rich calculate whether their anticipated returns are worth assuming a certain level of risk. And given that 96% of income for the wealthiest 400 Americans comes from either dividends, interest, capital gains, or business income, it's clear that taking on these risks is paying off. Mindset number 5, a home is not an investment. Whether you're rich or poor, buying a house will be one of the biggest cash expenditures of your life. Where the poor see their house as their most prized asset, the rich know that in most cases the house is simply another expense like groceries or your water bill, and if you want to build your wealth, then you need to minimize your expenses as much as possible. Sadly, far too many Americans justify spending whatever a bank will lend them when they want to buy a house. They tell themselves, well, sure, it's a lot of money every month, but it's real estate, and real estate is a long-term investment. This is a fairy tale. There are many ways to invest in real estate, from rental properties to flipping houses to REITs to alternative real estate investments. But your primary residence is not one of them. Reframe the question from, what's the maximum I can afford to spend on housing to, what's the least I can spend on housing and still be happy. By spending less on housing, you can funnel more money into building true wealth with true investments. Mindset number 6, money is a tool. Money is a tool with many uses, yet most people only use it for buying things. A bigger house, a newer car, a better wardrobe, a better hotel when traveling. The majority of people buy things like it's their day job. But the wealthy use their money in more productive ways because they know that money can be used to create more money. Every dollar you invest rather than spend can go into the world and generate more income for you. There are many ways to take a dollar and turn it into 5. You can invest in stocks or bonds or other paper assets, lend money to others, start a business, or invest in real estate, just to name a few. The possibilities are endless, but they all have the same simple premise: investing money instead of spending it. Don't believe me? Look no further than how America's billionaires earn their money. Every few years, the IRS releases a breakdown of income sources for the 400 wealthiest Americans. In the 2014 breakdown, only 4.47% of their income came from wages and salaries. Here's how the rest of their income sources broke down. Interest, 4.24%. Dividends, 10.89%. Partnerships and corporations, 16.24%. And capital gains, 65.16%. All of this income arose from investing money in something, and the overwhelming majority of it came from starting and growing a business. In other words, your job won't make you rich, but your investments in businesses might. Mindset number 7, resources are limitless. As I said before, each one of us only has so many hours in the day, which is why if you want to ramp up your output and see your revenue soar, then you need to leverage the resources that exist around you. That's why the wealthy use other people's money to build their own portfolio of assets. A classic example is rental properties. Sure, you could save up $100,000 and buy a property with cash, or you could borrow 80% of the purchase price and only put down 20% of your own cash. This is what financial experts mean when they talk about good debt. If each rental property earns $500 per month in cash flow, even after your mortgage and other expenses, then it's debt that makes you richer every month, not poorer. The faster you can accumulate assets like this, the faster you grow your income and your wealth. Good debt isn't limited to rental properties, however. You can also leverage other people's money to start or grow a small business. Sure, you might have to give up some equity in the beginning, but wouldn't you rather own 70% of $1 million business than 0% of a non-existent one? Therefore, if you want to grow your income and assets, don't be afraid to enlist other people's resources to help you reach your dreams faster. Thanks for watching. If you want to go from the life you have to the life you deserve, then hit the subscribe button now.